Well, let me tell you something, brother. This might be the best OG Kush I've ever had. Ooh. Ooh, yeah. You just said a mouthful, brother. I'm higher than helicopter butt. Listen, though, Hulkster. Younglurch has been running his mouth on that podcast. Blaze the Bingohall podcast needs to show some respect to the veterans, brother. I say we run in there and show Younglurch and his guest just exactly who the OGs of this game are, What you gonna do, Blaze the Bingohall podcast, when the Macho Man and the Hulkster run wild on you? Ooh, yeah. Give me like 10 minutes, though, because I'm really stoned. Oh, yeah.
And to Blaze the Bingohall, it is your host with the most, Younglurch. Today you guys hear that? Tick, 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 tick. It's Ranchhand Shawn Carlson. Shawn, welcome into the Bingohall, baby.
Tick, 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 tick. Time's finally here, baby. I'm really glad you got me on, and I'm glad we could finally find the time to do this, dude.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you for stopping by. It's a pleasure. We'll get right into it. So, we've been working on this for a while to get you here into the Bingohall. So like I said, I'm glad you're here, but, I want to take us back. I actually found the date. I had to go through our DMs, November 23rd, 2024, you fought Ty Awesome in Martinsburg, West Virginia in a bull rope match. That was the first time that I seen you in person, knew anything of you. Well, I seen that you had fought him in a match. I guess that was the show previous or two matches previous probably. And then it led to the bull rope, right?
Yeah, 100%. And it was funny because you had brought Ty like a little swag bag. And yes. I love fanny packs. And Ty was like, look at this cool fanny pack I got. And he told me who it was. So as soon as I went out there, I was like, where's mine? Where's mine?
Yes. It was hilarious. So yeah, I was a rep for Arrow at the time. And I had got all this swag, and I knew Ty smoked, and I had just started going to WWA. It was probably my third show, so I'm still kind of like getting familiar, and I'm just getting back into going to independent shows and stuff again at this point. So I'm just like kind of getting familiar. I'm like, all right, cool. Like I've talked to Ty a couple times. Let me hook him up. I know he's in the industry too. Got him a bunch of swag. He's like, oh yeah, cool, man. And I guess he went right back. He must have said something to you as soon as you came out. You're like, and you owe me a fanny pack. I was like, oh, hell no. You're like, oh, and your wife this and your wife that. I was like, oh, hell no. This guy's pulling my man card. So it was like instant, like you got me right away. And it was like, ever since then, I was a fan. So, I love it, man. I love it. But
yeah, that was only like my third show with WDWA. I've been trying to get in there for a while, and just things didn't work out, whether it was timing, whether it was whatever. It might have been fourth. I had one with him in April one year where I was a tag team with another guy. And then it just happened to work out that I had the dates come up and they wanted me there. So it was really cool.
Yeah. I was, I mean, and that's another thing. Like I'm from Maryland. So growing up, going to indie shows there, like, there's athletic commissions. So you don't see blood that much unless it's an accident or it's on an armory or something like that where they can kind of get away with it. And, you were bleeding. I was like, man, this is, and we're, it's a close, intimate environment in that venue. So yeah, we're right there on top of it. I was like, man, this is crazy, and like my wife, she's like just kind of getting into wrestling. Like she'll watch something here and there, like the casual stuff. And she likes going to the indies and stuff too. But it was like, she's like whispering to me, or not whispering. She was like, hey, you need to chill out. You need to stop cussing. You need to whatever. But it was like that moment. I was like, oh fuck, he put me on the spot. Like I gotta say something. So it was like, it's one of those things, but it's hilarious. Yeah, and I loved it.
I feel like everybody gets so lost in the spots and in everything in wrestling that sometimes we forget the reason that we're there is to get the crowd involved. And that's one thing I pride myself into doing is getting the crowd involved, making them feel like they're a part of this show. And if you're on the fence about hating me, I want you to hate me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like I'm glad you brought that up because connecting to the audience, connecting to the fans, it's the number one reason why you're there. Because if you're going out there just to do a bunch of moves and leave, at the end of the day, nobody cares. Everybody can do that. But if you connect like you did, you left an impression on me. And like now I'm like, oh, that's my guy. You know what I mean? Like it's just how it happens.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, like I feel so like that's one thing I pride my kids on is make an impression, whatever it may be. That I say it all the time. Like I'm a huge NASCAR fan, so I kind of elaborate wrestling to motorsports.
Mhm.
You can only watch so many car crashes before there's too many car crashes. But if there's one interview and the driver sticks out to you, you automatically like that driver. It's a total different thing.
Yeah.
And I say that all the time about, motorsports and wrestling. It's kind of the same. You want personality. You want somebody that connects to you. You want, what is this person doing that nobody else is doing? And I feel like that's just my niche and what I've been doing.
Yeah, I think that's the best way because it gets the people involved. It allows them to want to understand you and your journey and follow along. And yeah, someone that you may not have been interested in, but because you had that little connection, it's like now I'm on board and I want to see where this guy goes next and what you're doing. Like you guys,
Yeah.
and you're going all over the place. So it's cool to watch you grow. Just from the short time that I've known you and seen you wrestling. So it's awesome, man. But I want to take us back to a little bit before wrestling. So, who was Shawn Carlson before the ring?
Who? So a long, long ago. So I had to grow up quick in my life. I worked and I didn't at the same time. So I'm a painting contractor, and I worked for my dad's company for years until I was 23. When I turned 22, my mom got diagnosed with dementia, and she had to have a lot of help and everything. And her and my dad have been married for 32 years. My dad, instead of like, hey, your mom has dementia, and I think I need to, we need to figure something out and all this. He just left her and moved in with another woman after 32 years of marriage.
Wow.
So I kind of took it upon myself to take care of my mom. So I did that for 2 years. And then
And
unfortunately, it just became
you were what age when you left?
22. So, I
Okay.
mean, later divorce, like, I'm not trying to be dumb. It's a later divorce. It doesn't affect me like as a child, as it would a child. You know what I mean? But it was still the fact that I basically felt like I had to choose between my mom and my dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like choose a healthy person who's doing this on his own, or choose a woman who has no choice in this matter. And so I chose my mom's side. And I later, I didn't never regretted choosing my mom's side. I want to make that very clear. But later I've regretted not talking to my dad and everything. But um, anyway, by the time I'm 25, it's too much on me and then my current wife at that time, which that's a whole another story. But I ended up having to put my mom in a nursing home. And I just really needed an outlet because at that time in my life, all it was work and taking care of my mom, work, taking care of my mom. And I started going to independent wrestling shows with a group of guys that I knew through a Facebook group. And then this was, I guess we're hitting 2015, 2014, somewhere in there. And podcasting became the new thing. And I was like, man, one thing that these guys could really use is a podcast. Like, it'd be really cool to interview these guys. And nobody was really doing it on the indie level at that point. So I did all the work to set it up, and I started a podcast. And that led to me interviewing a guy who was starting a company, Baltimore Championship Wrestling. And we had talked, and he was basically telling me some issues he was already running into. And I was kind of telling him, from a business sense, this doesn't make sense. And he had no business idea, and he had no wrestling idea either. But I didn't have a wrestling idea either. But he asked me to be a partner with him, and that's how I kind of got into wrestling. I say it a lot that I'm the Benjamin Button of wrestling, because the usual traditional path is trainee, wrestler, manager, announcer, booker, promoter. It's along those lines, right? Not me. I went the exact opposite way.
Yeah, that's like I was telling you beforehand, like it kind of blew my mind. I was like, what? Like,
Yeah.
because I always like to deep dive when whoever I have as a guest and try to find out as much as I can. And I was like, that was the last thing I was expecting. Like, I was like, that makes sense though. It makes sense though, because like you're good on the mic, you're good on the fly with talking, again, connecting with the audience. So it makes sense that you're a personable person, that you're able to, you understand the, I guess those aspects of wrestling. So, but what drew you to wrestling as a fan?
So when I was a kid, So it first started, it was the only thing me and my dad ever connected on. So I was 4 years old, and the only thing my dad watched that I like to watch was, which is funny because now I feel like I'm my dad all over again, because my dad only watched Westerns. He only watched like things like that. Now that's all I kind of watch, that and my kids' cartoons.
Funny
But
how that worked, right?
it is crazy. It's crazy. But he loved wrestling. And so I started watching wrestling with him at 4 years old. And then he shortly fell out of it. He was a big WCW Nitro guy, which is fine. There was nothing wrong with Nitro. I want to make that clear too. But then me and my brother started watching it. It's a real way me and my brother connected. We used to wrestle on the trampoline and all that. So I've been a professional wrestling fan my whole entire life. And I fell out of love with it so I'll tell you exactly when I fell out of love with it. And it kind of sucks because he just died. But when Hulk Hogan came to TNA was like my last stand of pro wrestling.
Okay.
So in about 2004, I got done with WWE. I couldn't watch it no more. But I found TNA. So from 2004 to 2010, I only watched TNA, which is like the golden years of TNA in my opinion. So it was great. But when Hulk Hogan came, it just really drove me away from TNA. And so from like 2010-ish, 2011-ish to 2013, I never watched pro wrestling. I took a big hiatus from it. And then one Saturday night, my mom had woke me up. She was having a panic attack with her dementia, and she didn't know where she was and everything. And anyway, I finally got her back in her room, and it was all done. And I turned the TV on, and I just was skipping through channels, and Ring of Honor was on. And so I stopped on it. I was like, let me see this stuff. And it was Cedric Alexander versus Tommaso Ciampa. And they were having a last man standing match. And they were doing some of the craziest stuff. And then they pulled the ring up, and he pile drived them on the boards. And Ciampa sold that he had broke his neck. And I was like, dude, this is what I grew up like. This is what I love.
Yeah.
So that's what drew me back into pro wrestling.
Yeah, I'm like right there with you in that same time frame where you said you fell out of wrestling. I think it was the same thing for me. It was like 5 or 6 years that I just didn't watch wrestling. Like I just couldn't. It was just not. I wasn't into it.
It was like.
No, you're good. You're good. I was thinking the black and gold areas when I got back into it.
And that's another great era. I remember at the time I lived in an apartment, and we didn't have a washer and dryer. And I remember going to the laundromat at 6 o'clock in the morning, because nobody's there at 6 o'clock in the morning when they open, and bringing a tablet and watching NXT Black and Gold on the tablet. That's when I washed the clothes for the week.
Yeah, that's the same thing for me. When I that era that got me back into it, I would only watch NXT because it was like they were bringing up all the guys from the indies at that time, like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Like I wasn't really into those guys, but it was like that era of people that were coming up. So yeah, it's it was a weird time, like I said, but I think since then wrestling definitely picked up a lot, especially on the indies. I'm sure, as you know, me personally, like I'm way more into the indies right now than anything that's on TV. As far as like, major brands and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I think the indies are cooking right now, and I'm sure you can agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think the indies I think if anybody loves wrestling and they go to an independent, they get hooked, right? Yeah. I think it's all about wanting to make the commitment to go. I think the problem is, and I say this all the time about our area in general, is if you go to a really good indie where there's good talent and they look the part and they look like pro wrestlers and they're dressed like pro wrestlers, and they pull you in that this isn't Bush League shit, that you want to stick to it. But the problem is there's a lot of bad indies, and you go to one of these bad indies and you see that it's Bush League shit, and there's a guy wearing fucking shorts and tennis shoes, and his tennis shoes are fucked up because he has some walking issue. And it's like, I'm not spending my day and my time watching a bunch of dudes who think there's something jerk off on each other. I could get my neighbors to fuck for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a lot of that, and it's unfortunate. And I've talked about this before, that it's anybody can be a promoter, anybody can be a wrestler, anybody can just do it, because, I know it's not like it used to be, things aren't protected, but still, in some sense, like there's got to be some sort of like counter and balance in between, the areas, and like allowing these. I mean, I don't know, like I guess anybody can do what they want, but you can tell the difference in someone that's actually putting in the thought and effort and training and looking to, get themselves out there versus, like you said, someone that's just, got messed up tennis shoes and they got a limp and they don't train and they haven't been trained. They're doing this just because they've seen it on TV. And it's just like,
well,
yeah.
I think a lot of that, what you brought up, goes to that we live in a world where nobody says no anymore, right? Nobody says, hey, I don't think this is the right time for you. And everybody wants instant gratification. So everybody wants to put up the money and run their own show instead of, hey, can I work for, and I did the same thing. So I want to make that very clear that I know this from experience, that, hey, I should learn from a guy who knows this stuff and then go into business with him or, start my own thing. The problem is everybody just thinks they can do it. If it wasn't for Shawn Hardy, I would have never learned the art of promotion. I would have never learned the art of booking. I would have never learned any of the art. Shawn Hardy has been so implemental to that. And the only reason me and him hooked up is because I was going through a divorce and I was going to sell everything I had. And I literally had put I had bought a wrestling ring working for BCW when I was a part owner there. And I had put it up for sale and he called me. He's like, what are you doing? And I told him I was done with wrestling. Like, this shit ruined my life, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, I think it's clearing your life. I think it's making your life better. I think you're getting rid of the trash that you don't need in your life. And I was like, well, that could be right. And he's like, how about you just learn from me? How about we go into business together? I'll do everything. You learn from me before you try to take any leads on anything. And I was like, okay. And that's what I did. So there was, for about 2 years, I just put up money and just shut up and listen. And that's how I learned how to book. That's how I learned how to promote. And then I threw my own ideas at them. And if they stuck, great. And that's how we evolved the company. Because like Hardy says all the time, sometimes our ideas aren't the best, but if we have a great working relationship, we can always make them better. And that's where I got all that from. Shawn Hardy, I owe so much to Shawn Hardy. And that's mainly the reason why.
And that's with 1CW, right? That's
yes.
Shawn
Yeah,
Hardy.
Yep. Shawn Hardy is the head promoter, head booker at 1CW. Like I said, Shawn Hardy's been the dude for me. He pulled me out of a terrible spot I was in, and brought me back into wrestling when I was about to get out. Because at BCW, we planned 5 shows. We only ran 3. And then my business partner never paid the taxes on the company. So we lost our license. So
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So we were like 2 weeks from running our next show. And the commission closed us down because we hadn't paid our taxes. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, so I had to reach out. I actually did a Brutal Bob Evans seminar at my house. I'm sorry.
I would say, okay, I know who Brutal Bob is.
Yeah. I actually did a Brutal Bob seminar at my house because it was planned for the show. And I had so many signups that I couldn't cancel it. So it was just funny. He's like, okay, I guess we'll do it at your house then. And it was a good turnout still. We still had like 15 turnouts. I actually met my best friend there, Miles Millennium. I met him there at that seminar. He had signed up for that seminar and we didn't know each other.
That's
it is. Life's just full of twists and turns. You know what I mean?
It's funny how stuff like that works. And you look back and you're like, oh, how you're supposed to have a show. It doesn't happen. You're like, screw it. We're still going to have this seminar at my house. And then you wind up meeting someone who's a lifelong friend of yours in the middle of it.
Yeah. And the funniest part was I had just talked to Shawn Hardy about like getting 1CW back. And he had already planned a show with somebody else where he was going to help somebody else run a show. And then he was going to take over full on his own. And so we had talked about the launch was going to be in September of that year. And this is February. And this kid shows up at the fucking camp, and he's talking, and he goes, "Yeah, I actually got fired from my Fed." So he worked at a Fed that you could only wrestle in the one place. You could only work for them. You couldn't go anywhere else. You couldn't learn from anyone else. You had to be there. And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, I left everything to be here. And I was like, bro, I will do everything I can to help you. So I ended up getting Miles in with some people, and Miles' career has flourished since then, and he's one of the best wrestlers I know. So
that's great. And it's so weird that there's promoters and people in business that think that way, especially in a business where, they're independent contractors. So to say you only work for me and you can only be here and run shows here and do this, it's like a lot of times they get these younger guys or whomever that don't really know any better, and they feel indebted to these guys that may be training them or maybe giving them some sort of outlet. But it's like at the end of the day, those guys are just trying to keep you down. So unless it's a give and take type of relationship where you're getting, more than he's taking from you, it's kind of like, you're like cuckolded to a certain area or a certain promotion. It's like you should be able to spread your wings if he really wants you to be good.
I think that's a terrible point with wrestling, right? Like a lot of times you'll see guys who get stuck at one place. And I tell all my kids, once you graduate the school, I don't care what you do. Like if you want to go other places, that's fine. 1CW will still be here. Just let me know your dates. And if you can't be on a couple shows, that's fine. I totally understand. And in fact, I encourage it because how can I miss you if you're always here? Right. So I encourage that for my guys. And one thing I think is the problem is people don't know how to watch themselves in wrestling. And so what I mean by that is you get guys and it's a problem with one company I work at, and the guy will probably watch this and laugh. But when you work for one company, you should kind of space yourself out from not working anywhere else within an hour, in my opinion. And this is solely my opinion. If you're getting paid right, if you're getting treated right, if you're getting taken care of, then you could stay at that one place and then travel outside of your area. And I think the problem is everybody gets treated really good at one place, and then they think, oh, well, I'm only over at this place, so let me work in the area where I know those fans will still come, and then they'll just use me, and you're not creating any, and then the fans aren't going to just come to that one show. They're going to go to whatever show, they can see you on any show. What makes it special to go to that show?
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge problem with wrestlers in general, that they don't know how to watch themselves.
It almost kind of breeds like complacency too, because it's like, you're not expanding. You're not getting out there. You know what I mean? Because you're in the same area, maybe you wrestle for a couple different promotions in that area, but like you said, it's still the same fans. So they still look at you the same way versus, you could go to a different state or a couple hours down the road and you could have a whole different persona or a whole different gimmick going on and people wouldn't even know. It might work better for you. So,
So at WDWA, I'm a heel, and at 1CW, I'm a babyface. So it's great for me to do that. And I work other places and I work whatever. But those are my two mainstays right now. Is I try to be on every show. 1CW, I'm on every show no matter what. But I try to be on every show WDWA can run because I love what Gavin's doing. I think he's very smart. I think he also is a good booker. He tells good stories. He pays attention to what's going on in the world to make everything make sense. And I love that because I can flip back and forth and I can get my creative outlet out. And I think a lot of guys just stay in their area because it's safe. And if it's safe, and I got this advice from Aaron Stevens at NWA, if you're only working where it's safe, you're never going to be willing to get out there and do something that's unsafe, like work in front of 1,000 people, like work on a national TV promotion. Everybody thinks they can do it. And then you go out there and you're nervous and you mess up. If you are constantly traveling or you're constantly putting the work in, nothing like that's going to bother you. Also, think of it this way. When I travel to Tampa, I know how to travel. I know how to travel with my gear bag. I know what to have. I know where to have it. I know how to make sure I don't get dropped in luggage. I know how to do all that. I know how to make sure my gear is with me at all times, right? If you don't ever travel, if you don't ever fly out anywhere, how do you know that when you get your big opportunity? You don't. You just have to go with, oh, I think this is how it'll go. You know what I mean? And it's tough.
Yeah, I think it's so true what you're saying as far as like, people not opening their eyes and not looking at what they're doing and not watching, what else is going on around them, because it's like you said, if you're just stuck and, you're comfortable in that area, you're never gonna get out of it, I guess. But let's jump back to the podcasting. So you said that, the Benjamin Button, and I love how you coined the phrase of that's how you got into the industry. What was the original vision for the podcast, and what was the story behind it, how you got into it? I mean, I know you said you were kind of giving outlet to like the indies, right? That nobody was really doing it at the time.
Yeah, at the time, nobody was doing it. So it was, how can these guys tell their real life stories on a bigger platform? How can I get results to people? Because while social media was huge, a lot of people didn't really talk about the results. They wanted you to buy their thing or watch on YouTube or anything. So this was a way that I went to a show. I talked about the matches. I kind of did I wasn't Jim Cornette, but I kind of did a review on the matches and talked about what I liked, what I didn't like. And I would always say it's my opinion, not anybody else's. So, whatever. But I did that for about a year and a half. And I had a lot of fun with it, man. It was really cool. And like I said, I was going to the shows anyway. So it was like, why not, right? And I caught a lot of heat for it. But, it is what it is.
Because you were just kind of saying how you felt about the matches without, I guess because I know how wrestlers can get, especially if you say certain things. I'm like, oh, you said this about me, and it's like, then they want to talk shit to you or whatever. I guess or I guess there's a lot of that.
Yeah, a lot of guys are like, you've never taken a bump, you have no right to talk about it, right? And even now, after I've taken many a bumps and I do everything I do in wrestling, I'm not an idiot. That'd be like putting out a cheeseburger and you might like it, but everybody that eats it absolutely hates it. And going, well, you've never cooked a cheeseburger for 100 people before. You can't tell me what to like. I'm buying the damn cheeseburger, and if I don't like it, I just won't buy it. How stupid are you?
Yeah. You're not gonna get any return buys out of that.
It's so asinine for wrestlers to be like, I don't listen to fans. They're stupid. It's like the fans are the ones buying it. So if you're not going to listen to them, what's the sense of doing this shit?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was also proven during COVID times. When the fans go away, it's like this is a very, very weird sport or whatever you want to call it. Like you need the fans, you need them. So if you're not listening to them, if you're not trying to harvest their feedback that they're giving you, it's like, what are you doing? You're just aimlessly out there, just playing to the masses that you think is. I guess it's for you. It wouldn't be at the end of the day. It would be for their own personal reasons, I guess.
I have a whole rant about people saying wrestling's scripted, because plays are scripted, and no matter what, you stick to the script. You have to. You're not going for cheap pops. You're not going to get the crowd involved in a play because the play's written out that way. It is scripted. Verbatim, it is scripted, right? Wrestling's not. We should be focused on how to get the crowd to react to what we want. How do we get the crowd to clap? How do we get the crowd not to clap? How do we get the crowd to go, oh my God, without killing ourselves? And that's why I hate even the terminology scripted, because it's not scripted. Just because we call something doesn't mean it's scripted. It's what we have an idea of what's going to happen, and mistakes happen all the time, and you have to change all the time.
Yeah, you got to do things on the fly. You don't know what things happen. So
yeah,
you got to be able to call it on the fly and not clam up under those situations and be able to be a professional, I guess. So, but
100%.
Did you ever think that podcasting would lead to you being a professional wrestler, or was that never something that crossed your mind in the beginning?
Not at all. I wanted to build to doing like a TV show. That was my, like, not a TV show, but like, at the time I wanted a radio type, show. You know what I mean? Like, something bigger than a podcast, but like, kind of like what YouTube's turned into, like what we're doing right now, but on that kind of level. And because at the time I didn't even know how to do this, right? So, and there wasn't apps like this to help do this.
Yeah.
So it was a lot different, right? So that was like my main goal at the end of it, was to have something like what you're doing. But it just wasn't in the cards, and it got too time consuming. And you know how much time goes into this kind of stuff. Yeah. And like you said, research and everything else, and it just got too time consuming with everything else I had going on, that I just finally let it go.
Makes sense. Do you did you have like any guests or any moments on the podcast that really push you towards the ring?
No, I wouldn't say I had any pushes from it. Like it was mostly like I had one cool episode. I actually started the week this big thing down in Georgia happened. And like I said, I was one of the very few independent wrestling podcasts, and I got reached out to do a story on it. It was about a promoter who ran a big super show. And then he didn't pay anybody. He tried to leave and everything, and they all took to social media about it. And I got to do a podcast on that. And that was like probably the craziest thing I did. And it was like week 2 of me starting this podcast. But like I had a lot of cool guests on there. I had Marty the Moth. He was really cool. Um, I had a few others, but nobody really pushed it like, oh, you have this, you could do this. It was more just I kind of just happened to do the BCW interview, and it just fell into place.
How long did you ultimately wind up doing it for?
I'm sorry, you broke up. What'd you say?
How long did you ultimately wind up doing it for, the podcast?
Oh, it was like 2 years. It was 2 years. I want to say like almost 100 episodes.
Wow.
It just kind of fell out. I moved. So what happened was I moved, and when I moved, I was setting up I had a studio at my house where it was soundproof and everything, and I was setting up the other studio, and I just like I didn't get it set up for like 2 months after I moved. And by the time I even started it, I was like, podcast hadn't gone on in 2.5 months. Like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. And so I guess you were doing everything and like you said, there was no app, I guess, to use back then. So were you just like filming it and editing it and everything you're on your own, just manually?
So I had a computer, and I had to hook my phone to it. I had to call the person's phone number. I had to talk through the computer and through my phone, like a regular phone call conversation, but through the computer, record it, and then edit it.
Oh my God. See, I got it made. And that's the thing, like I'm just getting started and I don't really, I'm still figuring things out, but thank God for like StreamYard and, I'm sure there's other apps out there like this as well. That's like, they make it so simple that, it looks great, but it's like, I'm not really doing all that extra shit behind the scenes. I mean, I'm doing a lot of, behind, you know how it goes, but like not manually editing things. I mean, certain little things here and there, but not like full length stuff. So yeah, that's a lot of work.
Here's how funny it is. I had to do an entrance, like an intro song. I did Right Above It by Lil Wayne and Drake. I only did the intro, like the dun dun, and I had to play it on Pandora. So I would have to find it on Pandora, skip 100 songs, find it, press play. It would then play, and I would have to cut it off in order to go into the call.
So you were putting all that on YouTube?
No, I actually was getting it on Apple Podcasts and everything else. I never even got it on YouTube. I just did it directly on Apple, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
I was gonna say, I was wondering, did they ever give you like copyright stuff for trying to use Lil Wayne's music? But maybe
no,
I guess it's gotta be a certain amount of time, right? Or no?
Yeah, and it was kind of like the infancy of podcasts. Like I said, dude, it was so kind of new to podcasting that there wasn't as many things behind it. Like I got on Apple Podcasts within a week. Like that's unheard of now. Yeah. I actually had a friend, we were going to start a podcast called Behind the Curtain, and we were basically going to, he was going to edit it and everything, and all I was going to do is talk to people about life behind the wrestling curtain. And he was like, yeah, we can't get on Apple Podcasts. And I was like, why not? I was like, it was super simple. I just signed up, and then I could send my RSS code. And he's like, yeah, it doesn't work like that anymore. And I was like, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, you were basically almost grandfathered in for a little bit, and then now things blew up. They're like, nah, not that simple anymore.
Not at all.
What wrestlers or personalities do you think inspired you when you were growing up?
Oh, Stone Cold Steve Austin, HBK, DX. All the Attitude Era guys. That was my real niche. But if you're talking about like wrestlers that like when I seen them, I was like, oh my God, like this guy is amazing, and I would really love to do stuff like he's doing. Chris Sabin is probably one of my all-time favorites.
Okay.
Just a guy who who never really got the recognition he deserved, in my opinion.
Still doesn't get it.
No, and dude, he was when he won the team. So when I told you I took that break, I actually tuned in because he was cashing his Ultimate X. And one of my friends who still watched wrestling was like, he's cashing in the X Division title to wrestle for the TNA Championship. And I was like, I'm going to watch that. And he won, and he was a paper champ. He lost in like 30 days. And it really disgusted me again, because I was like, damn, that guy deserves a run.
No, I'm saying, damn, like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, they did him dirty, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, he had to win by hitting Bully Ray in the head with a hammer. It was like, bro, that is... And I always felt like weird because Alex Shelley's always gotten all this recognition of being a tremendous wrestler and everything. And I'm like, Sabin's really good. Like, why isn't Saban getting that? Saban's really good.
Yeah, I can agree with that because, as far as my memory goes, it was Saban first before it was Shelley. Saban was right there with AJ, you know what I mean? So it was like
Yeah.
Saban, AJ, Michael Shane, Kazarian, all these guys that were right there. And it was like when they finally did put, him and Shelley together. I mean, they're a great tag team and Shelley's a great wrestler too, but I think I can agree with that too. I think Saban is a little bit better in my opinion as far as my style of what I like.
Yeah, definitely. And then Jeff Jarrett is actually one of my favorite wrestlers.
Yeah.
Everything.
Now you're talking my language, man. You're talking my language. How many people I have to argue with about Jeff Jarrett because they talk so much shit on him? It's like I defend him all day. I don't give a shit.
Dude, I remember Be My Baby was like, I was a kid. I remember I was a kid living in a single wide trailer singing Be My Baby in front of the TV, like thinking it was so cool. He was just a guy. Like, he's the smartest businessman in professional wrestling. I don't care what anybody says. I got the opportunity when I was a manager. Actually, let me show you this. It's right over here. So I bought this when it was on the TNA shop. It's a Jeff Jarrett guitar.
Nice.
And I got hit with it. That's the back of it. Yeah, and he signed it for me. He did a show with us at 1CW and right before he went in the Hall of Fame, honestly. And he was so cool. So we're in the back, and I said, hey, is there anything you want me to stay away from out here when I cut this promo on you? And he's like, nah, you can say whatever. And I'll never forget this. Russell the Love Muscle was the referee for us. I don't even think he's in the business anymore. And he looked at Jeff Jarrett and said, hey, man, this guy will say the wildest shit. Please tell him anything that's going to offend you. You better tell him. And he's like, nah, nothing gets under my skin. And so I had asked him to hit me in the head with the guitar. And he said if he doesn't gimmick them, he doesn't hit people in the head with them. He only hits them in the back. Yeah. And I was like, all right, whatever. And so I go out there and I go, the greatest angle that Jeff Jarrett's ever been in is named Karen. And he comes out, and I could feel him get in the ring, and I could tell he's mad the way he gets in the ring. And he kicks me in the gut, and he says, "Sell up, motherfucker." And so I stayed bent over because I was like, he's about to shoot on me. I'm scared now. And he cracked me right in the head with it, still bent over. And he got in the back, and he was so cool. He's like, I let my anger get a hold of me out there. I didn't know you were going to go that deep. I'm sorry. I was like, you said anything. Like,
of all the buttons, you hit that button, right?
yeah. And it just, and I think he was on some white powder, if you know what I'm saying. So,
yeah.
Before he was a little energetic.
Yeah. Yeah, you ruffled his feathers a little bit. He's like, oh, hell no. He's like, oh, he wanted it in the head. He's going to get it in the head this time.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I had that guitar. I bought it on TNA shop when it went on because I was a huge Jeff Jarrett fan. And I actually gimmicked it and everything myself. It took me like 2 days to gimmick it right and sand it all down to get it thin enough and everything. And it was just crazy.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's an awesome story. Jeff Jarrett, he's definitely a GOAT in my opinion. I always ride or die for Jeff Jarrett, amongst other people that I get shit for as well, that people don't like, but it is what it is. It's wrestling.
Yeah.
So you made the jump from podcasting to wrestling. So it wasn't just to wrestling. You went to manager role first, right?
So I did promoting first.
Okay. With
the company, like I said, and then at the last show, I did the booking for it, and it didn't go great. And then I became an announcer for a few companies, which was really cool. And then I actually got fired. We were talking about earlier about knowing your where you are. So I was starting 1CW with Hardy, and everybody knew it. And I was very transparent, and I was announcing for a few companies, and they all fired me because I was about to start this other company. And the one that really hurt is I was tight friends with the guy. And after the show, he's like, "You're fired." And I was like, "You can't fire me, first off, because I'm an announcer and I haven't been paid yet." So are you telling me I can't volunteer my services here anymore? Because that's what you're telling me. And he was like, I don't want you around anymore. You're going to steal my ideas. You're going to steal my talent. I was like, dude, we could have had such a cool conversation about this and been fine. But now you've made me mad. Right. So I was doing that. And then I got mad. And I had a wrestling ring. And I would have open rings like once a month. And, I just started training to be a manager with guys that were coming up. Now, again, I always say this, I got in the wrestling business 100% the wrong way, and I never recommend anybody to do how I did. And so I trained to be a manager under one guy, and then I kept training, here and there with people, and I did a few matches. And then during COVID, the local wrestling school closed down. And when COVID was coming out, I was like, man, this really sucks. There's no way for local talent to get trained now. Like, they have to drive at least 2 hours one way to get training now. And I talked to the guy who was the head trainer, which was Mark Harrow at the time, who's my trainer. And we had a good conversation, and we ended up starting the school together.
Yeah,
and sorry.
Good. You're good. I think there's a lag too. Every time I go to say something, it's like a little lag.
Oh, my bad. And then
you're good.
I started right at the bottom of the line and wanted to start fresh and forget everything I knew and kind of just start fresh on training, and that's what I ended up doing.
So when you started training, and did you want to be a wrestler, or is it just like you wanted to kind of like be around it? Is that how you got into the manager, kind of like getting your feet wet type of deal?
I'm about to say the most egotistical shit ever for this. I started training to be a wrestler because I felt every time we would put the ball in someone's hands, they would drop it. And besides a very few people, Mr. Grimm, Miles, there's a few others that when we gave them the ball, they ran with it, right? But for the most part, wrestlers would just fuck up. And I was like, I looked at Hardy one night and I was like, what if there was a guy on our booking team that was a wrestler? And that way we always knew that guy was going to be the guy we could go to if anything happens. And he was like, what wrestler do you want to bring on? And I was like, no, I'm going to train to be a wrestler to do that. And that's what I did.
So would you contribute to that, to like a QB1 type of mentality if we relate it to football? Like, you're like, fuck it, put the ball in my hand and let me
I wouldn't say QB1, but I would say starting running back. Like,
okay.
If nobody else wants to run the ball, give it to me. I'll run the ball. I'll hit him as hard as I can. I'll do whatever I have to. And that's kind of where it came in at. And at the time, I was like, oh, I'll only wrestle for 1CW. I'll only wrestle here. And then I started traveling like a couple weeks later after I finished. I didn't even Mark had a band system. And so it was like, this band, you could start repping. This band, you could start doing battle royals. This band, you could actually start wrestling. And once I got the wrestling band, I started traveling like just boom, 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 boom.
Hell yeah. So when you were a manager, was your name Money Mark Carlson? Is that right?
Yeah.
And that's because
yeah.
I did, like I said, some deep diving. You came up with that because people thought you were a money mark. So you kind of wanted to play into the masses, I guess, of the crowd.
Yeah, my thing is, my opinion on it was, if everybody's going to say you're something, then I'll be that, right? And like I said, I came into business 100% wrong. I'll never argued with anybody that said that. I did for a while. Let me clarify. I did for a while. I was like, I came into business the best way I could. No, I did it 100% wrong. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, there is something wrong with that. But I'm saying now what I did, I've changed that and I've worked really hard. But everybody kept calling me a money mark. And I was like, oh, that's going to be my name. That's going to be my whole gimmick. And I traveled as a manager, which is kind of unheard of. I say that a lot. It's hard to see a manager travel. And like, you even look at the better managers, a lot of them don't travel. They stay to one or two companies. I managed down in Florida. I managed in Tennessee. I managed in West Virginia. I managed in New Jersey. Like, I hit 7 or 8 states as a manager, and some of them very far away as a manager just to hit.
So you're putting in just the same amount of grind, if not more, than some of the indie wrestlers.
Managers are super hard because a lot of guys think anybody can be a manager. And again, I go back to I thought I did at one time. And there's so much more that goes into it than just, oh, go out there and do this. It's so much more to it. You still got to know how to cut a promo. You still got to know what's going on. You still got to have terminology. You still got to have understanding. There's so much more to it than just being I'm going to stand out there and clap and cheer and boo and jump up and distract the guy. There's so much more to it. There's knowing timing. There's everything to it. So, and I think that helped me a lot to become a wrestler because I had already done that. But it's hard to be a really good manager on the indies and travel because, like I said, a lot of people just think, oh, anybody can do it. And then once you're really good and you get a few different places, you're like, oh, my God, this is so hard compared to what it was.
Yeah. Do you think going through those times that helped prepare you when you did actually become a wrestler? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it feel like natural almost, or like kind of like did it come to you like quicker than I guess it would, especially with you training now? I'm sure you see a lot of guys that pick it up quick or don't. And I'm sure maybe it came a little bit faster than usual it would for some people.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, example, we started the school in June and I had my matches banned by December. So it was 6 months, but it also took a lot of time and energy and effort, right? Like there was a lot of nights where I was the only person, or there was 2 people at training and I was here for it. You know what I mean? No days off, just here. I think that gets lost a lot. I'm a big matches over time guy. If somebody says they've been wrestling for 20 years, but they wrestled at one fed that runs 4 times a year, they only have, 80 matches in those 20-year span. Where if you wrestle, you wrestle 3 years, but you're at 5 or 6 different places and you're constantly traveling and working every weekend, then in those 3 years, you have 150 roughly matches. So you have more experience that 20-year vet. And that gets lost a lot. And I feel that training, doing the manager spot, I got a lot of experience that I wouldn't have had as if I wasn't. And I got in front of the crowd. I got the feeling of the crowd. I got not to get riled up when this happens. And also watching a lot of great talent. I got to manage Mr. Grimm. I got to manage Miles Millennium, and they got to wrestle a lot of great talent at that point. So I got to watch up close and personal a lot of great talent and learn from them at the same time.
Yeah, a lot of firsthand experience without having to punch your bump card, so to say. You know what I mean? I'm sure you probably did some things here and there, but like you're not taking as much damage as you would, early on just as a wrestler. So that probably is why I think you're as polished as you are now, because you're able to have that experience. like you said, you went in a completely different way. So to be where you're at now, you kind of had pulled from different parts of the industry and kind of like it's all just coming together, I feel like. So
yeah, like as a manager, I got really over by talking to the crowd in the middle of the shine. And like, if they were both down, I'd freak out and I'd throw a temper tantrum and I'd yell at the crowd and I'd say obscene stuff to the crowd. I still do that as a wrestler. You see it all the time. I'll be in the middle of getting up and I'm like, shut up, nerd, or whatever. I'll say something stupid because I had this spare second. I'm going to give you something and then turn around and get my ass kicked because it's going to give you more gratification because you think you distracted me to get my ass kicked.
Yep. It makes everyone feel like they're a part of the show. And I feel like if anyone listening, they could take more from that, take it, because we need more of that. You need more people connecting, more people showing their true colors, just being themselves out there in the ring. And like you said, those little moments that you can take for 1 second to say, shut up, nerd, and make that fan feel like, oh, they connected. Or, hey, you owe me a fanny pack. Like, we connected. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's things like that people have to, it's the little things. At
WDWA last show, there was an old man sitting in the front row, and he was not
exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly who you're talking.
He was not like really getting into anything. And I grabbed Victor Jones's leg and I pulled it over the bottom rope and I started yelling at him that it was his fault. And he got so into it. He's like, you're going to get your ass kicked. And I was like, finally, this guy has moved, because he hadn't moved all night.
Okay. That's what happened. See, I seen him over there, and I seen you over in the corner, and he was filming, And I thought you said something to him because he was filming, like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. But that was funny because as soon as you said something, he was like turning around, talking to everybody. And then I was by your table when he was in line. You're like, yeah, this man was giving me a hard time, though.
Yeah, no, he hadn't reacted to anything. He got the camera out because the first time I did it, I was like, this is your fault. This is your fault. And then he got the camera out and I came back and did it again. And I just started screaming in his face.
Well, when I was buying the 50-50 tickets from Kelly, Gavin's wife, he was over there asking her, hey, is this live on YouTube? Can I find this on YouTube? So, hey, he's connected. You know what I mean? So that's great.
That's great. You know, it's all about what can I like. So here's my opinion on it. Gavin runs the business. He takes all the financial thing. We get paid. What is it to me to grab somebody's leg, put it over the bottom rope, and yell at a fan that might draw them back? This might be their first time there, and this might get them to come back multiple times. So I'm keeping Gavin's return on investment in me, and that's my whole point. This is a business, and if I can prove to Gavin that I'm giving him a return on investment, then I'm going to keep my job, and I'm going to keep getting booked because I'm giving the crowd, I'm getting back to the crowd, and they're coming back to see me. As a heel, I hate when people start cheering me. And you see it now. There's a lot of the crowd that starts cheering me, even though I do heinous stuff and I say bad stuff to them. But at the end of the day, it's my job to keep them coming back. So whatever happens, if they start cheering me while I hate it, I'm not going to disregard them because I want them to come back. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing as being a talent. It's not about what I'm going to do in the ring to get my shit in to make me look good for YouTube. It's what am I going to do to get that guy to make more money so he can keep giving me spots and pay me more. And that's my whole goal there.
Yeah, because it all comes full circle because you bring more people back. That's bigger venues, bigger paydays. It all works hand in hand. So I wish more people would think like you. But, you know, some people kind of just are in their own tunnel vision of, again, let me go out here and do my spots and my moves, and that's it. Like,
wrestling's such a selfish business, so I don't blame anybody because wrestling is just a selfish business in general. And people tend to forget about who got them there, what got them there, everything like that. They worry about themselves and whatever track they're on. And at the end of the day, this business is what you make of it. This business has given me way more than I could ever give it. And I always will say that. And because of that, I try to give everything I can. The biggest thing is when you buy a ticket, when anybody buys a ticket, they might have the worst week of their life. They are coming out to forget everything they have going on and be lost in this moment. And it's professional wrestling. People know it's not, 100% real. And I say that because we take a lot of bad bumps and there's a lot of real stuff that happens. So I never say it's fake. I never say it's scripted. I say it's just not 100% real. But they know that it's not 100% real. But I don't care if that's what they think. I want them to think I'm real. I want them to think that whatever we're doing is real and they can't tell the difference. And then also they're so invested, they want to come back next time to see what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And like you said, like blurring those lines of what's reality and what they think is scripted, you know what I mean? Because if you can get them for that split second to question it, you got them. So yeah, like I said, I wish more people would think like that and pull from this. So any wrestlers listening, you got some gold nuggets here to pull from old Ranchhand Shawn Carlson. But do you think there was any? Do you think there was any peers that they reacted? I guess you said you did have a lot of people like calling you money mark and stuff like that when you actually got into the business. I'm sure there's probably haters and stuff. People are always going to say shit. Again, it's the wrestling business, but I guess you just push through that stuff and don't let it bring you down.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I had this one guy who I absolutely hated for a long time. And he hated me and he talked bad about me all the time. And long story short, he did something that I shouldn't say he did something. He got accused of doing something that was really fucked up. And I weaponized that against him. And nothing ever came about it. No charges were ever pressed, whatever. And I had a conversation with him recently. And he was like, he was like, yeah, everybody believes that happened because I was such a scumbag and an asshole to everybody. He goes, and since then I've learned and changed. And he was like, I didn't like you because you got in the business wrong and I had to work so hard to get in and you got in so easy and you were good at it. And then you were not only good at it, you got booked and you started going places. And he was like, that's why I hated you. And I was like, I only hated you because you hated me. Like, otherwise I wouldn't give a fuck. But I did feel bad I weaponized something against him that in theory, if he says he didn't do and there's no charges and there's no, I mean, the evidence that's there is very wishy-washy, let's just say. But he was a scumbag for so long that you can believe it. And so that's been one of my biggest haters that we're no longer haters. I wouldn't say we're friends, but we're no longer haters of each other. So it's just different how that shit goes.
Yeah, it's funny how those kinds of things happen, and then if you're able to have a conversation later on down the road and kind of like, hey, well, this is what I was thinking. It's kind of, you can kind of understand, I guess, the mindsets, but like again, you don't always have to come to an agreement, but at least you can kind of understand the thought process, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. That's all life is, man.
Yeah, yeah, and as you get older and you mature and you start to figure things out, I think a lot of things start to settle in, and things that people told you when you're younger start to come back around and make more sense to you. So, again, like you said, that's life,
Yeah, like one thing I always say to my guys is like, stop worrying about everybody else's race. Like, a lot of times we compare ourselves to others in this business, and they'll get an opportunity and you'll be like, why did that motherfucker get that opportunity and I didn't? Or why did this guy get that and I didn't? And it's like, you don't know why. That might not have anything to do with your wrestling ability. It might not have anything to do with anything, but that guy could do something you couldn't. Stop being so jealous and hateful toward people that just get the opportunity. There's enough opportunity out here for all of us to eventually eat. We're just going to eat at different times, and we should all be just happy that one of us is getting out right now.
I'm glad you said that, because that mentality, everyone can eat, is how it should be. Because if you're comparing yourself to someone else, it's really your own insecurities that you're projecting out there. Because if you're secure with yourself and you're comfortable with what you're doing, you're not worried about what everybody else is got going on, or who's getting booked here or who's doing this. Because if you're being the best version of yourself, fuck it. Like, it doesn't, none of the rest of it matters.
Let me say this, and I don't feel bad saying it now because it's out on Roku Sports. And if you look up Roku Sports right now, you can actually go back and rewatch this moment. But the 2025 Crockett Cup, our match just got released. That happened. It was on Roku Sports last night, and you can watch. Oh, there he is!
Hey, there he is. There he is.
So funny story about this. Adriana is the only woman in the Crockett Cup, and when we're putting this together, they were like, who wants to take her spot? And nobody spoke up. Now, Adriana is one of my kids. So I instantly went, I'll take whatever you want to give, right? The biggest moment I had on TV was taking a move from her.
That's awesome.
Like, just because I wasn't afraid to get beat up by a woman on national TV. I don't care about that. I care about my kid getting a great spot. And in fact, if you would ask her, which I'm sure she would tell you this, we were standing there, and when the guy said, who wants to get the spot right before commercial, I slapped her in the arm and went, raise your fucking hand. And she threw her hand up instantly. And she got the best spot because they went right to commercial right after she did her spot and got eliminated.
That's awesome.
I could have took that for myself. I could have been like, that's me. That's me and Ty. Yeah. I don't care about that. I care about my kids eating.
Yeah, that's so much more rewarding, in my opinion, when you are in that position and you're training these kids, and you're able to give them a little bit of a shine there in that moment. And like you said, you could have taken it for yourself, you and Ty or whoever, but it's like, it feels better especially when you're investing in these people and you get to see how much more it probably meant to her than it would have to you or Ty or something like that,
Well, this is how I look at it. This is Adriana's second time on NWA. This was like my third time. And I'm not trying to brag about it like that. Please don't take it that way. Because at the end of the day, I'm still in the indies and I'm still working a full-time job. But my point was to it, what can she do to stand out? Because clearly I've done something to stand out and I keep getting invited back and I keep getting these opportunities. And I'm very blessed that that's happened. Super blessed. What can I do so she also gets that? And if that's give her a great spot where she gets noticed, that's what I'll fucking do. When the spots came, I actually got, I don't want to say all that. Never mind. But she deserved that. And I wanted her to have a great spot within that.
I think I know you've used this term before, just in things that I've seen you in, but high tides raises all ships. So I think that when you're able to lift her up, it lifts everybody up. You know what I mean? Versus, like I said, could have been selfish, could have whatever, but it's I guess it's a different mindset, especially when you're a trainer or a mentor type of role.
Yeah, like Adriana, she considers me her trainer. I don't consider her like I trained her because while I've done a lot for her as far as ring work, I want her to know that I feel I'm a mentor to her, not a trainer. But she claims me as her trainer, and I'm very ecstatic to be that for her. And I'm glad that she has chosen that for me because I'm very blessed to have that. But my thing is, I would rather see all of them get signed. And if I'm the one that's left behind, I'm cool with it. Like, it is what it is. Because they're still doing what I taught them to get there. I can still take that in my world. You know what I mean? Where I'm almost 35. If I don't get signed, I could see why. There's 100 reasons why. I'm a little too fat. I'm a little too old, whatever. But if one of them gets signed, I'm super fucking proud. We got a young kid coming up, Jake Favor, who is tremendous. And I could see him getting signed. We got another kid, Tommy Fain, great kid. I could see something good happening for him. I want that to happen. I don't want to hold these guys back. I want them to succeed. I want them to get the bookings. We got I have a kid who 100% isn't there all the way, and I won't mention his name because I don't want him to feel bad. But he's been training at our school for 3.5, 4 years now. And he never traveled outside of 1CW because he wasn't allowed to. And I took over head training this year in January. And in January, I took him on a show with me, got him booked. And in February, I got him booked again there. And now he's a mainstay there. Anytime they're running, he can go there. And this is a kid who he's had the dream of being a traveling pro wrestler, but he could never do it because of his disabilities. And now he's doing it. And I'm very blessed to have that underneath my belt. I'm so proud of all my kids. It's unreal.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you feel like that's more of a proud moment for you with what you've done in wrestling versus your own personal, I guess, bucket list type moments? Not bucket list, but like, I guess check the box type moments in your life. Do you feel like you get more out of being what you said, like helping others, I guess, find their way in the business?
Yeah, I've had a lot of cool moments in my career. My favorite thing that's happened right now is I got to sit with both my kids and watch myself wrestle on national TV. I can't say that that's not a huge moment for me. I can't say that's one of the top 5 coolest things that's ever happened to me. But to watch my kids grow, to watch a guy like Jake who started here 2 years ago, who didn't know a wrist lock from a fucking anything else, from a wrist lock from a headlock, to have him now be one of what I want to consider one of the better young professional wrestlers going around is truly amazing to me. I mean, when I would go places and I take my kids with me and the booker goes, "Hey, we have a spot open. Which kid's good?" And I say, "Pick them." That's amazing to me. When so unfortunately Jake couldn't make it to the last show. Him and Ty had car problems on the way there. I was bringing my wife and kids, or else they would have rode with me, and so I feel bad about that. But the coolest part was Gavin looked at me and went, "What about Tommy?" And I went, "Tommy lives in Delaware. There's the backup of the Bay Bridge." Like, for him just to turn around and ask me about another student like that, amazing feeling. Because now I know my kids have been very established that they know they're good, and that's who they think of when things come up.
Yeah, that's definitely good, and to know that he has that trust in you and trust in your guys and sees what you're doing, so that probably means a lot. Like, hey, let's go with Shawn, and who's Shawn got for me that we can use. So that's trust. Do you feel like there's a signature move or moment that always gets a reaction? I know like the tick 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 when you come out, that's signature. And I know recently, especially in West Virginia at the WDWA shows, they love to want to ask you to do a backflip. They want to see you do a backflip so bad. That's like the almost the start of every match now.
Bro, that all happened because of Ty. Ty does that backflip, and I go, I could do that. And they all go, do a flip. I'm like, bro, that's what you took out of that? That's what you took out of it? It's just funny how things get over. My swanton usually gets the best reaction. I recently did it to somebody, and they rolled away for some reason when you're supposed to roll in, and I landed on him anyway. And I landed on his ankle, and he's like, oh, you're too fat. I didn't know you could fly that far. And I was like, bro, I was trying to miss you. Like, I went further on purpose. Like, the hell? But that always seems to get a good reaction is the swanton.
Yeah, I think that was a couple shows ago. I think the one you're talking about, right? Where you still hit? Yeah.
Yep.
Have you had a match or a feud that changed you either personally or professionally?
I wouldn't say personally, but me and Brian Morris had a great feud. Brian Morris is a good kid out of the Monster Factory. Me and him had a great feud in 1CW that really just like, I felt like elevated me. I felt like we had great chemistry together, and by the end of it, we did a 30-minute Iron Man match where we barely called anything. Like, we were literally talking through the ref and going like that. And we had like the finishes of how we wanted to go up and down called, and that's about it. And that really changed my mindset on wrestling and having to call so much and do all that because we had such a great match. I had a great feud with Chris Wilde that really helped me wrestling wise and helped me with just mentality of how to lose, how to take this in this way, and how to still get over and lost and stuff. And that's what Chris had taught me. There was one night he was beating me with submission. And he's like, I don't want you to tap out. I want you to pass out. And to me, the pass out was always something very stupid. And he's like, just trust me. And I passed out for him, did the whole pass out thing, and it got over. And it really worked to my advantage on it. So Chris changed a lot of me in professional wrestling mindset. Brian Morris, if we're talking personally, just in a good way, me and Ty have wrestled, I feel like, in almost every freaking state. And we've had such good chemistry and such good matches that it was an instant idea for us to be a team because we have such great chemistry. But the fact that we can have such great matches and then go in the back and hug, and I can bleed on him and we go in the back and hug, and just that has always been so cool to me that we have such a good rivalry. We match up good, but at the same time, we also have such a good chemistry that we could be a tag team. And just his and my relationship growing together through this has been just so great and honorable.
It seems like to me, just from the outside looking in, it's like a organic type of friendship and relationship that you guys have in the ring. And I feel like out of the ring too. Like, it's one of those things that you can tell, like, they have chemistry, you know what I mean? It's undeniable.
Yeah, Ty is my boy. I love Ty to death. He irritates me sometimes, but I love him to death. I remember one day he was really upset. He was going through a rough time, and I got a big thing going on for me, and he got the call too, and they called me first and told me to get him on board. And so I messaged him and I was like, "Hey, you depressed little fuck, you ready to go?" And just that we can have that relationship and I don't have to be so candid with him and we could just be so cool, and he'll send me some wild ass shit and I'm just laughing at it. And anybody else say that to me, I'd punch him in the mouth. But we were just
Yeah.
such good friends, and I think a lot of it has to do with training. We trained. We got so like I said, Mark Haro did a band system, and so it was kind of like karate. So after you could wrestle, you can stop training because you can wrestle. You can do whatever you want, or you can continue the training and try to get further up the bands. And I got to a certain point where I was close to Ty, and Ty helped me get to the next band, and then me and him trained together for like 6 months, 2 hours a week, just me and him trying to get these bands and get higher and higher and higher. And that's where our relationship and our chemistry really melted and came together. And it was because we had meshed together so well.
Just putting in that work together, grinding together, and that just ultimately adds to that relationship. Like you said, you feel like you could say whatever to each other because you've blood, sweat, tears, I'm sure, with everything. You know what I mean? When you have that type of camaraderie and friendship, like that's like the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I always joke around with my kids that our building gets super hot in the summer. And from like, I'd say June, the second week in June until like the third week of August, I say this is where the men and the top women are made because it's hot. You don't want to come here.
Yeah.
This is where the top dogs are made. And that's the time where we were pushing to get our black band was in the middle of summer. It was hot and we were doing all these like moves that I don't think either one of us have ever used, honestly. And it was all just to get this prize that we were working so hard for. And that's where our relationship really flourished because we would just be there sweating on each other in 120-degree heat in this building. And it's just like, this is what men are made of, man.
Yeah, you get to know each other real quick when you're putting in that type of work for sure.
100%. 100%.
How would you describe your in-ring persona?
I feel I am the child of Dusty Rhodes and Stone Cold put together.
Okay.
I feel like I have the Dusty charisma. I feel like I can, do the talking, the hip walking, whatever. But at the same time, I feel like I got the badass look. I can do this, I can do that, and that's kind of where it falls at.
Yeah, I like that. That makes sense. I can see that. I can definitely see that. How much would you say Shawn Carlson, the person, and Shawn Carlson, the character, Ranchhand Carlson, how similar are they? Is it like people say, where is that you like turned up a lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell all my students they have to find something where you're a wrestler. It's easy, but I have this one guy who's a manager, and I said, you got to have something that when you put it on, that's your switch. That's what cranks you up. And that's what turns you from, and you got to be able to take it off, and that's when it stops. At WDWA, I get my gear a little bit earlier than what I do at 1CW because at 1CW I have other jobs, so I can't get into character so early. I can't get in that mindset so early. But where at WDWA I have no other jobs, so I can get into that mindset earlier on in the night. And you'll hear me if you're in the locker room, I'll always say some wild shit to people because that's just my character. I say stupid stuff and I say wild stuff. And so once I get the gear on, I'm ready to go. I'm saying the dumb stuff. I'm calling people nerds. We're working.
Yeah.
At 1CW, I have other jobs, so I kind of stay undressed as long as I can. So that way I can kind of give people honest, very poignant answers like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we're doing. Because once I get in gear, you're not going to get a straight answer from me. I'm going to make jokes about everything.
Yeah. And like you said, that switch, when that gear goes on, then it's time to turn that switch on and get into go mode, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people wait until their music hits, but to me, like I treat it like a crank. So like I got to crank, 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 crank. Where some people can just switch it, and this is their switch. But me, I got to crank it. I've got to start, and I got to crank it up throughout the night.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think that your time as a podcaster gave you any type of edge on the mic at all?
No, not really.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. If anything, it gave me an in-look to what wrestling is and what it takes on you. I think that's something that the podcast did because I was talking to wrestlers about their daily life and stuff like that. And if anything, that's what it did. But I've always kind of had the gift of gab, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, it did. No, I had the gift of gab. I always had that personality. But it did give me an in look into what wrestling is, and it's not all, sunshine and rainbows. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of, you know, I heard an interview the other day of Triple H, and he was like, there is no such thing as a work-life balance. And it's really not in wrestling, especially when you're doing all the jobs that I'm doing and working a full-time job and being a husband and being a dad. It's so much that there is no work-life balance. And he's so true with that. And that's what I kind of can say, but I kind of knew that going into it because of the podcast, because I'm talking to guys who are struggling with all that and they're telling me about it. So if anything, he gave me an in-look into that.
Kind of helps you kind of prepare what was how the sausage was made a little bit before you finally got in there, started making it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of gave me an outlook on this is what's going to happen, and not, hey, this is what it is.
Yeah. But I think that it comes from passion though, too. You know what I mean? You got to be passionate about it to want to put yourself through that grind. Like you said, you got a family, you got a career, you got other things going on besides wrestling. And within wrestling, you're wearing so many hats as it is. So yeah, the passion has to be there, I feel like. And and if it's not, then it's like, what's your reason why? But yeah,
well, Ryan Voss gave me the best advice ever. And when I was doing the podcast, and he said, it takes a good woman to be with you through being a pro wrestler. And I have what I consider the best woman. My wife is very supportive, very understanding. She has done a lot of events by herself because I'm wrestling. She has gone to weddings. She has gone to funerals. She has gone to birthdays by herself because I'm at wrestling. And never once has she thrown it in my face. Never, I didn't take off to go to some doctor's appointments for my son. Not when he was born, because he was born and there was doctor's appointments and stuff because he had an issue. But leading up to it, I didn't go to all the doctor's appointments and everything. She never bitched about that. But I found time in my PTO to take off to go to Tampa for wrestling. And she's never thrown it in my face. She's very, very supportive of pro wrestling. And she knows that this is the dream and this is what we work for. And I cannot express how it is to have a supportive partner in your life. And that's what you absolutely need.
Yeah, that's awesome. And good for her. Good for you to have that in your life, because I'm sure there's plenty of wrestlers that don't always have that side. And, it's a whole flip of the coin, compared to what you just described, because to have that support system that keeps you grounded, I would assume.
Yeah, 100%. Like this last weekend was her birthday weekend. Her birthday was Friday.
Oh yeah. You were telling me that when we were trying to get you. Yeah.
Yeah, she could have very well said, no, you're not wrestling this weekend. And instead, she was like, all right, well, if you're wrestling, I'm going with you. And we couldn't find a sitter for the kids. We had somebody last minute that canceled. So she's like, I was like, do you still want to go? She's like, yeah, we're going to take the kids. Like, I want to spend time with you on my birthday weekend. So she's always been very supportive of everything. She actually met me through pro wrestling. So funny enough, that's how everything worked out.
That's awesome. That's cool that you have that ride or die. And I seen her there when I was by your table, the national anthem they were playing, and my son, he's a character. You've met him. He closes his eyes and he just full on starts singing the national anthem like he's up there singing with her with the girl. And I seen your wife was looking over holding your daughter, I think, or your son, and she like was laughing, like looking over at my son. And I just kind of like looked over at her and gave her the smile. I was like, yeah, that's him, Well, he's just over there doing his thing.
So my daughter's a character in herself. So like I said earlier, I watch a lot of motorsports and they do the national anthem just like any sporting event. And if my daughter hears it, she makes me get up off the chair and put my hand over my heart because the national anthem's playing, Daddy.
Yeah. That's awesome. She holds you to it. She holds you accountable
all the time.
Yeah. Having a daughter is something else. I'm sure, as you know, and me too. Like it's a new experience for me. Mine's 2. She'll be 3 in December. But yeah, she runs the house. She runs this place. I'm sure it's probably the same thing for you guys too, right?
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Wild. But what do you think? How do you approach storytelling in your matches?
A lot of it has to do with what story we want to tell, what the promoter wants out of it. And once you get to that, you can kind of tell what story we're going to tell. But a lot of it is just putting the pieces together. and making it something that you can follow. And this is how we're going to get there. This is how we're doing it. So I hate saying that it's a lot of kind of figuring it out as you go, but a lot of storytelling is figuring it out as you go. I think it's, there's the basic storytelling, what you can do, but a lot of it is find out where and what you can do to make the crowd care and make the crowd care about the story, and mainly care about the guy who you're like. If you're a heel, you got to make the guy who's getting beat up be cared about. And as the heel, you got to know you're the bad guy, and either you're going to, steal it from the babyface, or you're putting him over clean and you're making him look like $1 million.
Yeah. Knowing your, like, I guess, role or position for the night or promotion or whatever you're doing, it's always key and pivotal, especially if, that's what the promoter wants. And, if someone goes out there and they're just like, oh, I'm going to do this or do that, it's like, that wasn't the objective, so being in tune to, I guess, what the surroundings are and what everyone wants is always good to make sure you're doing what you need to do. And
also what match you are too. The match that you are is very critical too, because I can't go out in match one and do the same thing that I would do in the semi-main event. And I can't do in the semi-main event what I would do in match two. And it's very understanding to know where you are on the card and know what you're doing. And I think that's pivotal as well.
Yeah, because I think for a while in wrestling, you'd see guys go out on cards and they'd be the first match and they go out there and have like a just burn the house down type of card. And it's like, what did you leave for everybody else? It's like...
Yeah. I have one funny story about a guy who did a match one time, and I was match two, and they went out there and they did 4 pile drivers to the finish. And he came in the back, and I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, you guys just did 4 fucking pile drivers. You guys just broke each other's neck 2 times each, and you kicked out of it 3 of the 4 times. What can I do to realistically make this guy look great? Because I got to put him over. What am I going to take that's going to realistically make him look great? Because I'm not getting dropped on my head twice today.
Yeah.
So he's got to roll me up now? We're going to steal from him because you guys had to get your 4 fucking pile drivers in?
Yeah.
Some stuff just doesn't make sense in wrestling.
Yeah, some people I don't think other than what they have going on in themselves. You know what I mean? It's just like, hey, this is a... I don't want to say team, but like, yeah, it's a locker room. You know what I mean? Like it's a, you got to be in tune to what's there to, make the show better, not just what's better for you as a wrestler or a person. But like you said earlier, it is a selfish industry. So, we can understand it, that it would make sense that there are people that do those things, so
100%.
How do you prepare mentally and physically for a match? Like you said, I guess getting that switch to getting that crank, getting dialed in when you get your gear in and stuff.
Yeah, dialed in is the main thing for mental. And physical, I just stretch out really good before the show and make sure I'm feeling loose. I'll hit the ropes a few times, make sure I'm loose, and that's kind of pretty much it. I train 2 or 3 times a week, so that's how I stay physically ready. And just getting there and stretching out and being ready to go is just the main thing, and then cranking the switch when it's time to crank it.
You're dropping those LBs, so you're definitely putting in work in the gym, right?
Yeah, dude, I'm down 30 pounds since March. It's crazy.
That's good, man. Getting right, yeah. Getting lean and fit and
trying.
You need a fight machine, man.
Trying. It's so hard now because I've hit like my plateau of weight loss. So it's like I'm putting on muscle, so my weight's changing, and then like I'm getting the bad weeks where I'm eating bad that week, and I'm like, oh my God, I gained 4 pounds this week. And it's like, is it muscle? Is it fat? I don't know. What am I doing?
It's all right. What do you think your approach is to staying healthy though, like with such a demanding schedule?
Literally I started watching what I eat. I think that's a major thing. I got 2 kids. I run around a lot, and just hitting the training as much as I can and hitting the weights and doing everything I can. That's kind of the best way to stay in shape and stay as best I can mentally and physically.
Was that something that you learned early in your career, later in your career? Like
late, okay. This year, late. Like,
okay.
I guess like I'll shoot straight. I never took, this is gonna sound really crappy, but I never seen myself as a TV pro wrestler. I always seen myself on the indies. So I kind of never cared about like my body and stuff like that. And then at the 76th event in Philly, when I got my call for the NWA, And I asked Dr. Tom what to do, and the first thing he said is, "Well, you need to stop being so fucking fat." I was like, "All right, bet." Um, so yeah, that was the real wake up call. Put on muscle, lose the fat, and that was kind of the wake up call. It's like, well, you're here now, so stop being fucking stupid because you can do this. So get right.
Yeah, that's good though. Like like you said that it like that wake up call, like that's how I am in life and work and whatever. Like I want someone to tell me some shit like that, like constructive criticism. Tell me flat out what the fuck it is, and I work better that way. You know what I mean? If I'm fucking up,
100%.
tell me I'm fucking up. If I need to lose weight, tell me I need to lose. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, it's like I work so much better that way. So I can definitely get that mindset.
Yeah,
too.
100%.
Yeah. What do you think that there's how do you balance like the outside ring relationships, your downtime? Because again, that's a lot. You got a family, you got all these jobs that you do within the wrestling industry. Again, full-time job as well. So how do you balance all that?
Live in the moment. Whatever you're doing, live in that moment. If I'm with my kids, I'm with my kids. If I've got business, I'm in the business. If I got a show, I'm on the show. If I've got whatever whatever it is, I've just got that moment in time for that. At work, when I clock in, I'm there to work, and when I clock out, work's done. My boss will tend to message me about work a lot, and a lot of times I have to end up ignoring her until either later in the evening or something. But it's just I've got life to do, and I've got to focus on this.
Yeah, that's definitely good advice. I feel like advice that I could take from you as well, because it's hard sometimes to do that. Like to
super hard.
To all right, I gotta separate work from family and family from work, and have that balance. So again, like you said, living in that moment and wherever you're at in that moment to just sink in and be like, all right, this is what I'm doing versus.
And like I do I do certain things. Like Saturday mornings is me and my daughter time. I take her to Walmart. That's our Saturday morning thing. Most Saturday mornings we'll go to Walmart. We'll just go look around. We don't even go for anything, or we'll go grocery shopping for some stuff. But we just go to Walmart and we just go hang out for an hour or two. We grab breakfast. We come home and we hang out with the wife and the son, because he's not doing much right now. He's a baby, and then we hang out with them. And that's kind of me and my daughter's like time. It's like we reconnect. Me and my wife have times where we just reconnect, and then it's just we forget about everything else going on and we just do this.
Yeah, it's good to have that. Good to have that reset kind of moment, I guess, to adjust and keep keep the stressors and everything to settle a little bit from the day-to-day grind.
Yeah, 100%.
What do you think? What is one of the misconceptions that fans have about the wrestling business?
That I think one of the big, I shouldn't say it's a misconception, but one of the things I hate that fans think is that we talk about everything and that we go over everything in the back, and we don't. We really don't. A lot of times I'll say I don't call my heat because it's whatever. I might just grab you and grab your leg and yell at an old guy. That's a big misconception. We don't call near as much as a lot of people think. There are guys who call everything, but we don't call near as much as what you think.
Do you think and correct me if I'm wrong, but like in today's age of wrestlers, do you think that a lot of like how they put together matches, that's what they like to do, that's like sort of like, I guess, a newer style or new of age of training where they want to call every single thing, but like I don't know how that can work, like because again, like shit happens. So if you call everything a certain way, I feel like as a fan, I've been watching long enough that I can see through that shit. Because if the crowd's not reacting in the spots that you think that they're going to react, it's gonna bleed through, and it's gonna be so transparent that, at least in my eyes, I can tell. But and then they just keep pushing through, like, oh, to our next spot. It's like, but you didn't get any reaction off your last spot, so why are you going and trying to do something else that's going to be digging you deeper into the shitty hole you just started? So it's weird, in my opinion, when you see certain things like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the time and place in wrestling. I think the older you get in wrestling, the less you call, because you're so familiar with wrestling in general. I think a lot of new guys like to call a lot of stuff because they get worried that they might get lost. And then a lot of times they call so much that they do get lost. I feel like it's not a dying art, but it's a fading away art to just go out there and have fun. and focus on getting your stuff over and not getting your shit in. And I think it would benefit a lot of guys if they just didn't do so much stuff and worried about getting the stuff they do right and hitting it at the right time. And I think that's a big thing in wrestling.
Yeah, I think a lot of times less is more.
100%.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like people just think like, oh nope, I just gonna do what I gotta do, and it's like if you did less moves and connect and less like high spots or whatever you want to call it, it's like and just did a little, like you said, play to the crowd, take a leg and put it over the rope and yell at an old man, like something little like that. That it's just but hey, it's not for everybody.
That's it.
What's one of the things that you hope to accomplish? Goals in promotions, dream matches. I know you've been a promoter as well, so I don't know if you have any more goals as being a promoter.
Getting signed by the NWA is my biggest goal right now.
Okay.
That's basically it. If I retire, I always say this: if I retire tomorrow, I think my career, I've done exactly what I've wanted in my career. I've never sold myself out for anything, and I've kind of stayed the way I've wanted to. And so with that being said, I feel like I've done everything I've actually wanted to, and I've had the matches I've wanted to have. There's a few more still to do, but whatever. If I retire tomorrow, I can say my career has been great. But getting the NWA contract, focusing on that, that's my number one goal right now, is to push for that.
NWA contract, what would that consist of? What would that look like?
I don't know. I'll let you know when I get it.
Okay, yeah. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it, baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
Two more I got for you, and we'll let you go. If you could go back to tell your podcasting self one thing, what would it be?
Don't give up right now. Because there was a lot of times doing episodes, I'm sure you see it, where the views just aren't there, the listens aren't there.
Yeah.
It's just a dud, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just keep going, and when you get there, you'll know it. And that's kind of what happened. I had so many days where I was just like, is this even worth it? And it got me here. And to be honest with you, if it wasn't for that podcast, I'd never gotten to wrestling. I would have never met my wife. I would never have my two beautiful children. I'd never be where I am right now in this moment if it wasn't for that. So just keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's amazing. I always talk about the butterfly effect all the time. It's funny how one little thing can just snowball into 10 more great things that you don't realize what would have ever came out of it, just out of, like you said, starting a podcast back then.
100%. And something good is going to come out of this for you. I know it, because you're putting work, you're putting effort, you're putting time into it. And because of that, something will happen. I know another guy who does a podcast and who's put a lot of time, effort, and grind into it. And now he's working for a major promotion doing another thing for them. And it might not be podcasting, but it's something that he was good at, and it just worked out. So just whatever you're doing, keep grinding, and something good will come from it.
Appreciate that. And that's all I'm doing, man. I'm just it was one of those things I was putting off for a long time, and I kept saying, I want to do it. And I just was like, you know what? I got to take the leap of faith, did it. And I haven't looked back. So I've been pushing forward and grinding. And like you said, there's days that you question it. You're like, why am I doing this? Like, and you're vulnerable. You put yourself out there. So, but again, I'm just consistent, and I'm going to keep grinding, and I'm going to eat everybody's lunch at the end of the day. So when they don't want to grind, they don't want to do it, I'm going to eat their fucking lunch. Like, that's how I look at it.
That's it. That's what you got to do, baby.
Yeah. When it's all said and done, how do you want to be remembered in the world of professional wrestling?
I want to be remembered by my students, that the guy that never gave up on them. That's all I care about. If the fans remember me, great. But I'm one wrestler in a locker room of 20 people per night. I'm not going to be, it's great that Gavin's going to the Hall of Fame, and guys like Kevin Mears get recognition, and that's super amazing. And I love that for Kevin. Great dude, deserves it. But I had a student who quit, and even if my kids quit on me, I still contact them once a month, check in on them, see how they're doing. And this person quit. They were going through some personal stuff, and I constantly checked in on them and just, hey, how you feeling, man? I don't care that you're not in wrestling no more. I want to know how you, the person's doing. And they sent me a long message the other day. They were going through a really dark time, and I sent them a message and was just contacting them and seeing how they were doing. And they said that in a world full of black, you are a bright, shining light, and I very much appreciate that. And that's what I want to be remembered for is being here for people who didn't have anybody, because that's all I'm trying to do, man.
That's an amazing story, and I appreciate you for sharing that, because I feel like like just in any industry, like, oh, if someone leaves or whatever, that's just like, oh, they're just dead to me, or I'll never talk to them again. But the fact that you still keep up with these students or trainees, just to, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? Hey, do you need anything? Whatever it is, because they're not wrestling anymore. Like, you would think, oh, well, I don't need to talk to them anymore. There's no reason for me to invest my time into them. But that's just sounds like you're just a genuine dude that cares about these people that you're, investing your time into.
Yeah, anybody who puts time in my school, they become my kid. And sometimes your kids leave sports. Sometimes your kids don't do what you want them to do, but they're still your kids, and that's still how I treat all my guys.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it, and a great way to keep, going forward with training and the way you run your school. It sounds like you guys have a great thing going on there. So anyone that's looking to get into the school, I guess you guys are taking trainees and what have you, or no?
All the time, man. We're always accepting. Yeah, we're always accepting.
Okay.
Yeah, we're always accepting. We just had another new guy start this week. We have about 20 students now, so we're constantly growing, and we want more. So we love it. We appreciate everybody that signs up for our school.
And where's the school located at?
It's in Felton, Delaware. It's the 1CW dojo. It's currently where I'm at right now. So it's in Felton, Delaware. And if anybody wants to, come out, and even if you're a wrestler and you just want to get some ring time, my place is always open to everybody.
Nice. Yeah, let the people know where they can find you. I know this is your Instagram handle here. If there's any other platforms or socials that you're at, or anything you have upcoming, or any shows that you got coming on, feel free to plug it and let the people know where you're at.
Yeah, so on Facebook, it's Shawn Carlson or Ranchhand Carlson. You can find both. On X, is that what it is? X, it's Ranchhand Carlson. It's just one H on there because some other asshole has Ranchhand Carlson.
Okay.
Yeah, weird. And then big events coming up August 8th or August 9th in Harrington, Delaware. We got Donovan Dijak and All Night Express reunion, Brett Titus and Kenny King. And All Night Express is taking on me and Ty Awesome, the Cloud9 Cowboys.
Love that name. I told Ty the last time I seen him in person, I was like, dude, I love the tag team name, the Cloud9 Cowboys. Perfect.
Yeah, that was all Ty. He came up with it. I'll give him that credit.
Yeah, I love the gear too. Is that inspired by anything? I know he's always doing like the Power Ranger type stuff, but what is yours have any type of inspiration on it?
So mine is Bret Hart inspired. My blue gear is blue gear is legit Bret Hart gear. It's exact replica of Bret Hart's gear except different colors. My pink gear is similar to it, but it just has regular print and stuff. I didn't go full Bret Hart on that.
Okay. Yeah, because I seen you guys when I guess right before you went to Florida, you guys got the matching gear, matching boots and stuff. And
the pink gear was mine. He matched to my pink gear. The blue gear I got especially for NWA. Now I wear that everywhere because the pink gear is now my tag gear. And the boots I had a pair first, and then I told Ty where to get them so he can get them. So I'm taking all the credit, Ty.
Yeah. He laid it all out there for you, Ty. But yeah, man, I appreciate you for stepping into the bingo hall, blazing it with your boy. It's been amazing. I think it was a great conversation. It was a great episode. Again, if you guys want to reach out to Ranchhand, there's his handle. You can find him on all the platforms he mentioned. You said you have a show coming up on the 9th, right?
Yeah, August 9th in Harrington, Delaware.
Harrington, Delaware. Look out for him. Ranchhand coming through. I think he's going to be new in WDWA very soon. So
I hope so.
Yeah, man. Going to be the belt collector coming up here soon. But
that's it.
Yep. We're running out of time. Tick, tick, tick. See you guys next time.
Tick, 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 tick.
Peace.